Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. I hope you guys have had a great couple days and you're ready to rock and roll for the last two lessons of the week. So we're going to start section 8.4 today, which is on purchasing a home. Okay, so we've done some things so far, kind of building towards this. Remember previously we looked at monthly payment and how much total interest we pay on a 15-year versus 30-year. We're going to break it down even more and look at more what happens each month and even what costs go into buying a house. Right? What do we actually do to purchase a home? Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about are closing costs. Okay, so this is something that when it goes into purchasing a home, you think about, all right, what is the price of this home? $200,000 home. Great. So in our head, we're thinking, all right, we got to pay $200,000. You and I both know that a lot more goes into that than actually just a price tag of $200,000. We talked a lot about interest before, the extra amount that goes towards that. And today we're going to talk about those closing costs. Okay, so I want you to think about, what do you know about closing costs? Do you know what any of them might be? If you don't, that's okay. I didn't either. What I want you guys to do to save us some time going through it here in this lesson, if you go in your book to page 412, there's a list of different types of closing costs. And it kind of describes what that money will go to. Okay, or of course you could always Google it and see there. Okay, but for us, the thing that we need to know is about how much it's going to cost us. So generally, when you buy a house, the closing costs end up being somewhere between 2% and 7%, kind of depending on what happens in your sale. Okay, so that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you think about the amount that we're buying a house for, let's say we just bought a house for $100,000. Okay, 2 to 7% would be somewhere between $2,000 and $7,000. That's a lot of money. Okay, and if you make it even more, a higher purchase or amount for a house, right? That price goes up. So it is something we want to be aware of when it comes to buying a house, to not forget that we're going to have this extra cost added at the time of our purchase. Okay. So let's say Lee and Josh here, they will have to bring their checkbook to the closing because they still have a checkbook, and they're purchasing a house for $600,000. Wow, good for Leah and Josh. So what might they expect to pay in total at the closing? Okay, again, for closing costs, we're going to be somewhere between 2 and 7%. So that's the range we want to think about. So all we got to do is calculate how much is 2% of the mortgage price of that $600,000 and what's 7% of $600,000. Going to calculate that. We're going to do convert those percents into decimals. So 2% would be 0.02, and then multiply it by the cost of the house. So your calculator, you're going to do 0.02 times 600,000, and that gives us a closing cost amount of $12,000. Okay. If we want to calculate 7%, we're going to do 0.07 times $600,000, and that gives us $42,000. Okay, so that means Lee and Josh have to account for possible closing costs. This means when they want to buy their house, they have to put this money up front, between $12,000 and $42,000. Okay. On your Google form for today, I'm going to ask you a question like this and ask you for a range. I want you to input it like this: 12,000, put a little hyphen, 42,000. Okay, that way Google will be able to correctly check to make sure you're doing that correct. Next one. So Shannon here had to make a down payment of 15% of the selling price of her house. So she was approved for a $340,000 mortgage. So what range of costs might she expect to pay at the closing? What's a little different here is that they're telling us how much she's making for a down payment. She's making a 15% down payment. In our previous one, the one about Josh and Leah, right, we didn't know that. So either we just didn't have that information, or they might have had a mortgage where they didn't have a down payment. Now, I would never recommend that, okay, because you think about it, if you don't have a down payment, that means you're financing a bigger amount of the price of the house, which in the long run is going to lead you to paying more interest. Okay, so you always want to try to have as big of a down payment as you can. But here we have down payment, so 15%. So we're going to incorporate that into our amount right now. So you think about this, we know we have a down payment of 15%. Okay, we're definitely paying that. And we have closing costs between 2% and 7%. Okay, so what that means for us is that we kind of add that together. If you take the 15% and the low end of our closing costs, we have to pay an extra 17%. right? 15% down payment, 2% for the closing costs. If we end up paying the 7% for a closing cost, well, we had a 15% down payment plus 7% for a closing cost, and that brings us to 22%. So we really want to calculate what's in this range, what's between 17 and 22%, because that incorporates that down payment. Okay, so let's first figure out what is 17% of her mortgage of $340,000. So 0.17 times 340,000 gives us an amount of 57,800. Okay, if we end up being at 22%, that would be 74,800. That's big, right? That's a lot of money we want to make sure we think about. Okay, nice part is at least 15% of that goes towards paying down the price of the house, where that 2 to 7% doesn't. That goes just towards our closing costs. All right, now what I want to do, okay, this is going to kind of be us transitioning to what we're going to do tomorrow and Monday of next week, is start breaking down and seeing what our money does each month. So when we make a mortgage payment, how much of that goes towards paying down our principal, and how much of that just goes towards interest? And that's what we're transitioning towards here. Okay. So this example says Trudy and Tom have been approved for a $300,000 15-year mortgage with an APR of 5.75%. So they calculated their monthly payment to be $2,491.23. So how much of their first monthly payment will go towards interest and principal? Sounds nice for you guys. If we were in class right now, I would have had you calculate this monthly payment yourself using that monthly payment formula. Remember, P times R over 12 times 1 plus R over 12 raised to 12 times T, that whole thing with the big fraction. I'm not going to have you guys do that. I'll just give you the monthly payment. I want you to more be able to see what's happening to that amount. Okay, so what we're going to do is first figure out how much of this amount of this monthly payment is going to go towards principal in month number 1, because it's going to change each month. So let's start with month number 1. Okay, so the way interest is calculated through this is actually by using the simple interest formula. Okay, which as a reminder is I equals P R T. That's a formula we learned about, I believe, in chapter 3 right in the beginning. Okay, so P stands for your principal, or that's how much you owe at that time. R is the interest rate, and T is time, and here's the important part. Time is always in years. You'll see why it's important in a second. So interest equals principal times rate times time. Okay, so in month number 1, let's think about what we have here. Okay, we want to calculate how much interest we owe in our first month. We know our principal, but we haven't paid anything yet, so it's the entire $300,000 that we owe. Our interest rate, okay, is 5.75%. Again, always write that as, or convert it into a decimal. So it'd be 0.0575. And now here's the tricky part. How much time has gone by? So think about from the time we took out this mortgage until the time we're making this payment, how much time has passed? Okay, you might want to say 1, right? Like for 1 payment period. Remember, it has to be in terms of years. Since it's a monthly payment, that means 1 month has passed. So how many years is 1 month? Well, it's 1 month out of 12, so the time would be 1 over 12. Okay, or the fraction 1 over 12. Okay, or 1/12 of a year. So the way I would do this, guys, in my calculator, I would take $300,000. I'm going to multiply it by 0.0575. And then if you want, you can multiply by that fraction times 1 over 12. But multiplying something by 1/12 is the same as just dividing it by 12. So I would do $300,000 times 0.0575, hit enter, and then divide it by 12. Okay, that's what I did. And you get an interest amount. Let me find it here. $1,437.50. Okay, that's how much has to go towards interest. Okay, and then basically just whatever is left over from our payment, that's how much can go to pay down our principal. So if you look at what our monthly payment was, okay, our monthly payment was $24.91.23. We know this much has to go towards interest. So we're just going to subtract those two amounts to figure out how much goes towards our principal. Okay. Or if you want to write down for you guys, if you want to jot this down, we're going to find our principal is going to be our monthly payment minus our interest. Okay. So we can say it's 24. What color should I use? I'll use red. Yeah. 91.23 minus the interest we just calculated. So 1437.50. Okay, which would give us a principal of 1053.73. Okay, just be clear, guys. I should have been. This isn't going to represent how much principal we have left. It's how much goes towards principal. Okay, how much is going towards our principal. So at the end of the month, let's think about how much we owe now. Okay, so again, our interest amount, that doesn't go towards paying down our loan. Only the amount that goes towards principal does that. So at the end of month one, okay, we had our original amount of $300,000, and we paid off 105373. Okay, which is basically what our monthly payment was minus our interest was how much can pay down principal. So at the end of month one, now we owe 29.894627. Okay, and that's how much we still owe. So not that it asked anything about month number two, but let's say that it asked us to calculate how much interest and principal, or how much went towards interest and principal in month number two. So now what we would do, okay, month two, is say, well, our principal now that we owe is this much. We no longer owe $300,000. So if I was calculating my interest, I equals PRT, our principal is now 29.894627, and I multiply that by our interest rate, and times 1/12. So basically this amount will change each month once we start paying it off. Okay. All right, let's try another one here. So Lee has been approved for a $200,000 30-year mortgage with an APR of 4.875%. He calculated his monthly payment to be $1,058.41. So how much of his first monthly payment will go towards interest and principal? Okay. So same idea. Again, I gave you what his monthly payment is. It's $1,058.41. So our first step is to calculate what he would have to pay towards interest. Okay, so I equals PRT. Okay, so interest is going to equal his principal. So how much does he owe right now? He owes $200,000 because he hasn't made any payments yet. What is his interest rate? Okay, it's 4.875%. Let's convert that into a decimal. So 0.04875, and times time, it's 1 month, so or 1/12 of a year. Okay, in our calculator, we're going to do 200,000 times 0.04875. Hit enter. We're going to divide that by 12 then, and that's going to give us an interest amount that we owe of $812.50. Okay. Then to calculate how much is going to go towards his principal, we're going to take our original principal, okay, the $200,000, and we're going to subtract away. Take his monthly payment. I apologize, guys. We're going to take his monthly payment, this $1,058.41, and subtract how much has to go towards interest, because then whatever's left over can go towards principal. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say I want to take my monthly payment and subtract our interest. Okay, so we're going to take the 1058.41. Let's subtract the 812.50. So that means that $245.91 goes towards principal. Oh, there we go. So I want you guys to know something really quickly. Okay, interest goes towards principal. In my last example here, that went towards interest, that went towards principal. Okay. In our 15-year loan, okay, when we had a 15-year mortgage, our monthly payment was higher. Since our monthly payment was higher, more money was able to go towards principal. We're still paying more than half towards interest, but at least they're pretty close here. In a 30-year mortgage, okay, our monthly payment's lower, okay, but you think about our interest formula here, guys. Nothing in here does incorporate how long of a loan we have. All that matters is how much do you owe, what's your interest rate, how much time has passed since your last payment. So our interest doesn't change. Never mind, the interest we owe each month doesn't change whether we have a 15-year or 30-year loan. What will change is how much we pay per month, so how much goes towards principal. Look at this. In the 30-year mortgage, $812 went towards interest and only $200 went towards principal, right? There's a big difference there. So that's why it takes longer to pay off your loan at 30-year, obviously, than it would in the 15-year. Okay. So how much do we owe at the end of this month? So let's go ahead then and take our interest, or take our principal. So $200,000. Let's subtract away how much goes towards principal. So $245.91. So at the end of month number 1, we owe $199,754.09. Okay. All right. So that's it for today, guys. We're looking at just big idea. When we have a monthly payment, how much goes towards interest, how much goes towards principal, and then how much do we owe at the end of the month. Okay, I'm gonna have one question like that for you on that, one question on closing costs, and you'll see how we kind of develop this idea tomorrow. Okay, please let me know if you have any questions. If not, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. See ya.